Okay, Ben Cohen, ladies and gentlemen, of the Ben of Ben and Jerry's.
Jeez.
Live and alive in the building. Very excited. People are saying ice cream, you scream. We all scream for ice cream.
Yeah.
That wasn't a joke. No. Ben
I should have brought you ice cream. Shit.
Damn. Well, I thought you would. I'm not gonna lie.
You know,
I thought you would.
I thought I would too. I mean, I didn't know. I was look. I got some kind of magic. I got magic pieces of paper.
What is that? Oh my God! No.
Turns into ice cream.
No.
Yeah. That
We got free. This coupon's good for anyone. Ben & Jerry's pint. Bag of cookie dough chunks. Let's go.
This is for your listeners.
Okay. Do you want me to just show it and whoever gets it first?
Yes.
Is that how this goes?
Yes.
Like I just put it on the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Whoever gets the coupon first and takes it to a store wins. Okay. Are you ready? There it is. Hold on. Boom. I hope that works. And if not, I'll just post it. I'll post it on my Twitter. How about that?
What? You post it on your Twitter and it works?
I'll take a photo of it on my Twitter.
Another one.
Another one. You're giving me so much free ice cream.
Well, of course, I forgot to bring you the pints, man. I got to bring you the pieces of paper here.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to come up with Zin favorite ice cream for you.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, I mean, you're
what? He's got Zin. He's got extra.
Zin everywhere.
He's got essential. Man, what? The guy runs on
the
zero
Dr. Pepper.
sugar, Dr. Pepper, and cream.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, so Ben, I have so much to talk to you about. You were detained briefly, right?
I was.
You were protesting at the RFK Jr. hearing.
It's true. Yeah.
You're very progressive. You're an OG. You're one of the OGs.
I'm definitely
original
old.
Gangster. No. That doesn't mean old. That means you're the original gangster.
All right. I'm an original gangster.
And I want to hear more about the story of how Ben and Jerry's came about. Where you're from, for the people that might not know. Let's just start it at the beginning.
Sure. I was born in 1951 in Brooklyn. I stayed there for a year and a half. My parents moved to Long Island. I stayed there till I was 18. I met my friend Jerry running around the track in gym class. We were the two slowest, fattest kids in the class. We learned to like each other. We stuck together. I dropped out of a whole bunch of colleges. Jerry went to 4 years straight, tried to get into med school and couldn't get in. I tried to become a potter. Nobody would buy my pottery. We felt like we were both failures, and we decided to start our own business. Our idea was that we wanted to live in a rural college town, and we thought we would take a food trend that was just starting off in the big cities. And
but you were there when ice cream was popping off for the first time ever. That's crazy.
Well, when homemade ice cream was popping off, I think it was Dolly Madison, the president's wife, who really started ice cream in the U.S., but that was before my time.
Have you ever seen in the USSR, they have like they place a lot of importance on ice cream. There's this thing, I forget what it is. Hold on, I'm going to pull this up real quick. And we do things a little bit non-traditional here for the record. It's just like, it's a normal, organic conversation. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, I mean, so if I have a pain in my neck and I just bought some off-brand Icy Hot, I can rub it on.
I have like pads and stuff too if you want one.
You got pads?
Yeah, I could get you like a heating pad. You can slap it on if you want.
Yeah, man, I want to be like Hasan.
For sure. Plombier is a type of ice cream made with vanilla, cream, eggs, and sugar, originally created in the Soviet Union in 1937. And I think it was like a big, what do you call it? It was like a big deal where they wanted to make sure that all kids were able to get it. Ice cream has had a history in politics as well, it seems, where, even in the USSR, they were like, we gotta make sure that the kids and everybody else gets to have their treats, specifically ice cream.
Absolutely true. I was actually in the Soviet Union. At the end of the Soviet Union, Gorbachev was setting up, he allowed you to have joint ventures.
Yeah.
And we set up a Ben & Jerry's joint venture.
No way.
Yeah.
That's sick. That's like
in Karelia, the Russian state of Karelia.
Wow, that's amazing.
Petrozavodsk. It's right on the border with Finland.
Let's see. Okay, that's never mind. That's
whoa, jeez, what the heck was that?
That's just Reddit. Ukrainian conflict. So you're wearing a common side effect shirt. Before we continue with the history lesson about how you arrived at this ice cream behemoth, and became known for that. You're wearing a common side effect shirt. Have you watched it? It's one of my favorite shows. I love it.
Yes, I watched the whole thing. I totally
it's amazing.
love it. They're in the middle of producing a new series, a new
Is the second season or just like an entirely new season?
Okay, the second season.
Thank God, because some of those shows, dude, they can just get canceled, even if it's good. Especially if it's good, they usually cancel them. But it's amazing that you're repping them. You said you were hanging out with them earlier.
Yeah. I just came from there. That's why I didn't bring any ice cream, because I came straight
they ate
from
all the
there.
Ice cream.
That's correct. They've got the ice cream. You know those guys? Go to their freezer.
I don't know those guys. I'm gonna go.
Well,
check
they're
them out.
really good guys. You should see them.
Do you want an icy hot
really
patch?
Like you. Well, I just put this stuff on. I think it'll work.
All right, perfect. So you start Ben and Jerry's. Like in the beginning, I assume that there was a lot of limitations, a lot of hurdles that you had to clear in the process, right? Did it explode in popularity from the start?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, we started as this little homemade ice cream parlor. Never expected to be anything more than that. In an old converted gas station that was falling apart in Burlington, Vermont. And, in terms of getting business permits back then and health permits and, the fire permit, all that stuff, it was a lot easier than it is now.
Oh, okay.
So there's kind of, in that way, there was less obstacles.
Yeah. The pesky nanny state hadn't intervened.
Right.
Bernie Sanders, the devastating, the dangerous mayor of Burlington, hadn't come in yet.
He was just running for mayor for the first time as we were starting up. I guess we started a little before him. And I remember being at the incredible, huge celebration in the basement of Memorial Auditorium, scooping ice cream for the victory party.
Wow. You were there from the beginning.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. I feel like he hasn't changed his look at all.
He hasn't changed
his look. He's looked like he was this age back then.
It's true. He hasn't changed his look. He hasn't changed his politics. He hasn't changed his stump speech.
I know.
It's the beautiful thing about Bernie is just how consistent he is. And, some people complain, Bernie, you're always saying the same thing. And he was saying, when we start having justice in this country, I'll start saying something different.
Yeah. So you go through the process, not as many hurdles back then as there are now.
I mean, the big hurdle was we didn't have enough money.
Yeah.
I mean, we had $4,000 a piece, and we were planning on getting a loan from the SBA, but we couldn't get a long enough lease on this old gas station that was falling apart, so we couldn't get the loan from the SBA, and the bank kicked in another $4,000, so it was $12,000.
Mm-hmm.
Started Ben and Jerry's. Of amazing. I guess you can't really start a business on $12,000 now.
Yeah, no, that definitely can't. So let me ask you, getting right into it, Trump is president again.
Oy.
Yes. I don't know if you knew that. Trump is president. Guys, that's what's going on. Sorry. Hate to be the bearer. Hate to be the bearer of bad news. Hate to be the bearer of bad news. And one thing that I have routinely talked about with Ben and Jerry's is the component of marketing and political advocacy, specifically because I always use Ben and Jerry's as a great example of a company that, in spite of corporate takeovers, in spite of control by much larger conglomerates, Ben and Jerry's has always maintained political advocacy as a part of its mission. And I think is largely in part because of your direction, right? Like this is a genuine thing that you care about, as opposed to Target, for example, or many other mega corporations in this country that will only aesthetically get on board with performative activism in an effort to do marketing. And the second part of this is that I now fear that we're moving in the direction where a lot of companies have completely cast aside the previous performative liberalism, the performative wokeness, if you will, to now move in the direction of right-wing politics, broadcasting right-wing politics as though it is a virtuous position to have. Have you noticed this as well in your experience?
Well, as a matter of fact, I have, Hasan.
That was a wordy question. I just lobbed it up for you.
And I have thought about that, and I think all that's going on is that most businesses, most corporations don't really have a social mission. They are not values-led businesses. They are businesses whose purpose is to maximize profits today, in the here and now. And so, think about it. I mean, if you're a business and your only purpose is to maximize profits today, you go along to get along. If the current president says X, you say yeah, baby. If he says Y, you say, yeah, baby. And if he says Z, yeah, I'm on board with that.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a heart. They don't have a soul. They don't have a spirit. And that, I think, is the interesting thing about Ben & Jerry's. It's a business, it's a thing, but it has a heart and a soul and a spirit. And, it's the idea of being values-led, not profit-led. Values-led is a term that was coined by Anita Roddick, who started the Body Shop. The Ben & Jerry's mission, and, we went through a lot of difficulties in order to get to this point. There was a lot of internal dissension. There was external criticism, but the Ben & Jerry's mission is a three-part mission. So we have a social mission, we have a product quality mission, and we have a financial mission. And the interesting thing about them is that they are written horizontally to make the point that no one of them comes before the other. They're all interconnected. And staying true to those missions is what keeps Ben & Jerry's Ben & Jerry's.
You mentioned that there was some struggles that took place in the process. Do you want to elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. In the early days, the struggles were mostly internal. I would say, let's take a stand on a particular issue. For instance, peace.
Dangerous prospect. An ever-present danger to the military-industrial complex. You're speaking a dangerous language, sir.
Let's suggest that the government take 1% of the Pentagon budget and use it for peace through understanding activities between the U.S. and the former Soviet Union. Because the people, they don't have anything against each other, and yet we were in this Cold War.
I feel like that kind of dangerous language would have gotten you denaturalized back in the day. if you were a little bit younger, or now. Exactly.
So we were coming out with a chocolate-covered ice cream pop on a stick, and normally you write about, you're going to taste the most amazing chocolate-covered ice cream pop on a stick you ever had. It's so smooth, so rich, so creamy, so chocolatey. And instead, we said, let's call this a peace pop. And let's use the copy on the package to talk about making peace instead of war and shifting this money out of the Pentagon. And it was incredibly controversial within the company that people were saying, our executives were saying, the people on the board of directors were saying, that's not business's role. Business should not be trying to advocate for particular national government policies. And it was quite a heated discussion. And finally, I kind of forced it through, and nothing happened. I mean, people were saying that what's going to happen is, we set up this new plant that's designed to make these chocolate-covered ice cream pops on a stick. If we come out with this packaging, right-wing groups are going to picket the supermarkets. The supermarket's going to take it off the shelf, and none of that stuff ever came to pass.
Yeah. Well, it probably helps if it's delicious.
Yeah.
Because if it was not good, it'd be easier to be like, I don't want that. I don't want that at all.
Yeah.
No, this is something that I've seen in my own industry as well. Streaming, the internet, like content creators, like a lot of them, I think, are at the mercy of the broader audience and like whatever they're saying, and they never want to lead by example because they're afraid of like corporations pulling out. They're afraid of companies saying, "Oh, we're going to blacklist you." They're afraid of companies saying like, "Oh, you speak on this political issue. I don't necessarily think that's appropriate for our brand." And for that reason, I think they choose not to make a stand. They choose not to take a reasonable moral stand like you just described. And I feel like that creates an environment where without that bravery, without that courage, that creates an environment where the only ones who are speaking loudly are oftentimes right-wingers that don't have these sorts of fears, that don't care about these sorts of things, especially when the administration is like heavily leaning on that kind of domination as well, even on the corporate side. One of the things that I've seen is that the Trump administration is actively bullying corporations as well into taking positions against what they've defined is woke. Now, it's largely optics. And I don't think that any of these corporations actually cared about anything beyond profits to begin with, right? So therefore, back in the day when they were actually pushing for ESG or DEI initiatives or any number of different statements that they made, they were doing so in an effort to do marketing, but it wasn't genuine. But now they're moving in the right-wing direction, and I fear that this is creating a permission structure for people to go, oh yeah, being a bad person is actually a virtue. Pushing these vices is actually a good thing. And I think it makes the entire environment less safe for everybody, not just marginalized groups in particular, but it just makes the environment that we're living in more toxic overall.
Yeah, I think that's really true. I mean, the word that's been going through my mind lately is cutthroat. I mean, I think about Trump's, original book. What was it? The Art of the Deal.
Yeah.
And in that book, he's saying, there's so many people who say that a good deal is when both parties come away from it thinking we did pretty good. We feel okay about this. And he said, no, that's bullshit. A good deal is when you get everything you want and the other guy feels fucked over. And he's running the country the same way.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't care about cooperation. He doesn't care about respecting the other guy. He wants, when he talks about America first, he's talking about everybody else last.
Yeah.
And it's
not even good for America broadly either. It's just good for him and his buddies. Him and his most loyal servants, basically, picking apart what remains of this country's carcass for scraps, basically, dismantling the regulatory agencies and the like. Going back to Ben and Jerry's, one of the positions that I think, or at least was very impactful for someone like myself, was the implementation of BDS to a certain degree at Ben and Jerry's, when I believe you guys pulled sales from the occupied West Bank. Do you mind talking about that a little bit?
I'd love to talk about that, but I really would like to get some of that smart water.
Absolutely. Do you want smart water? I have that as well.
Oh, yeah. Any kind of liquid.
There you go.
I'm not.
Well, I have sodas back there, too, if you want Mountain Dew.
No. I'm much better at...
Just drinking water.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Sorry. No. Everyone always gets on me in the chat when they're like, why don't you offer your guests anything? Now they're going to cook me. They're going to say, you didn't offer your guests anything.
Well, it's because I didn't bring you any ice cream.
It's tit for tat. I
understand.
Art of the deal.
So, the Israel.
Yeah.
So I want to be clear that what we were doing was not BDS. What is that?
Boycott, divestments, and sanctions.
Boycott, divestments, and sanctions. What we were doing was our ice cream was being sold in Israel. It was being sold through a licensee that was also manufacturing the product there. And we told them that we don't want our ice cream being sold in the West Bank because we disagree with how Israel is treating people in the West Bank. And somehow or other, the ice cream showed up in the West Bank. Mm-hmm. And, we went back and forth on that for a while. And eventually we said, hey, we really mean it. You need to pull the ice cream, not sell the ice cream in the West Bank. And so then we refused to renew that licensee's contract on that basis. And so the ice cream was not sold in the West Bank. And Unilever, who is the parent of Ben & Jerry's, owns Ben & Jerry's at the moment, was doing a lot of other business in Israel, many other brands, many other products. And Israel kind of came to, talk to the Unilever guys, the top Unilever guys.
They call the managers.
Right. And they said, if you don't take care of this situation, we're going to kick you out of Israel, for all your products, all your businesses. And so what Unilever did was they sold the rights to Ben & Jerry's to an Israeli, and now Ben & Jerry's in Hebrew. They didn't sell, you can't write it in English, but is now available anywhere in Israel or the occupied territories, I guess.
But it's not called Ben & Jerry's. It's in Hebrew.
It's in Hebrew. It's Hebrew letters that I guess are pronounced Ben & Jerry's, but that was illegal according to the terms of the contract the acquisition agreement that was made with Ben & Jerry's when they bought Ben & Jerry's. You know, Ben & Jerry's has an independent board of directors who is responsible for the social mission and the essential integrity of the brand, marketing, and the product quality. And so that move by Unilever usurped the power of the board. And so the board sued Unilever. There was an out-of-court settlement, and now the board is saying that Unilever did not live up to the out-of-court settlement, and so they're suing Unilever again.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
That's the.
I didn't know this was still ongoing.
That's the current.
They're like, no, the West Bank has to get Ben & Jerry's. They're adamant. I mean, this is a part of, I think, a much broader, much more complex influence peddling operation that has taken place in America to basically get as many people on board or to completely diminish like some of the most violent aspects of Israel's occupation over the course of the past 80 years. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that specifically, considering that you were also protesting against the Trump administration as well on this issue? Because I don't know, were you there with the Code Pink people or were you there separately?
When I was in D.C.?
Yeah, when you're in D.C.
We were there separately, but Code Pink was being very supportive. Yeah. And they were very...
You know Medea Benjamin?
I know her very well.
She's the GOAT. I love her.
She's great. So she was very helpful in terms of getting me into that committee hearing.
Oh, she's the best at that. Yes, I don't know how she does it.
I don't know how she does it either because
for decades now.
They ought to know who she is by now.
No, she just finds a way to sneak into everything.
Well, I guess it helps to be kind of small.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but Code Pink was also very helpful in terms of creating the video. You know, when I was being walked in zip ties down the hall, it was Code Pink that was prompting me with the right questions and doing the videotaping.
Yeah.
I guess it's not taping anymore.
Video filming, video clipping. They're good with clipping. That's what the Zoomers say now. They say clips.
Clips? All right.
Yeah.
Video.
They were clipping.
They were clipping.
Another thing that a Zoomer would say, I'm 34, but like a younger generation would say, you had aura. That's the new term.
What, if you're old?
No. When you're doing something cool, you have aura.
Aura.
You had a lot of aura.
All right.
That's what they say.
All right. That sounds good.
Yeah, you got the clip.
Well, you got aura too, man.
Oh,
I think we got aura together. We're blending our auras. You got the OG aura. You got the young G aura.
I'm not. My audience says I'm unk. So they say I'm old.
You're like really old?
Yeah, they say I'm
old. Well, what the hell am I?
You're at that point. You're
ancient.
That's why you're OG. You're OG. There's Unk and then there's OG, and your OG status. Do you want to talk about your experience in general? You're Jewish, and you grew up in Brooklyn, and then in Vermont as well. And I was wondering like how your opinion on Israel evolved throughout time, if you don't mind me asking.
No, be my pleasure. I went to when I was in like elementary school. I went a couple of afternoons a week to a thing called Center Island Jewish School. And it was mostly teaching you about Jewish culture and teaching about how Jews had been discriminated against and teaching you the Jewish songs and the dances and the holidays. And they also taught us about Israel. And what we were taught was that, after World War II, the Jews needed a homeland, a place they could feel safe, and it was Israel. Israel was created for that purpose. And it was this really shitty land in the desert that nobody wanted and nobody lived on. And that's what they got. And
a land without people for a people without land.
And then the Jews, with the help, the Jews who moved to Israel, with the help of, the international Jewish community, ended up creating this very vibrant, highly developed society and culture. And what we were told was that the Arab countries, the Arabs who lived around them, were kind of jealous of that culture, that development, that quality of life, and so they made war on them.
Yeah,
and so that's the way I thought it was for a long time. And I understand that on both sides, there's people that have screwed the other side. And, I don't know, one guy starts making a war and then the other guy starts making a war. I mean, I'm sure sometimes Arabs were responsible for some of the horrible things. Sometimes Jews were responsible. But that's as I understand it.
So what was a formative part of your development that made you feel like the way that this was presented to you initially might not have been entirely correct?
I think it was only maybe 20 years ago that I started understanding that, there were people who lived there.
Mm-hmm.
And there were people that were pushed out. And then it didn't sound so good.
Yeah.
And I think that both the Jews and the Arabs have claims to that land. Some biblically and some legally and whatever, but it seems that they need to find a way to get along. And what I believe strongly is that the mothers of people of kids on one side don't want their kids to die, and they don't want their kids killing the other guy's kids. And I'm aware of all these efforts at peace, and that almost created peace, and then some extremist on one side or the other screws it up. I don't know what to do, but the one thing that I know is that you can't mistreat people. That forcing people in Gaza and the West Bank to live in what the UN has called essentially an open-air prison is not going to work. That people don't take that lying down. What would happen if people in the U.S. were forced by some occupying power to live in that?
Yeah. I use the analog of aliens because there is no equivalence with the asymmetry of power, because America is the most powerful nation on the planet and has been so, especially in the aftermath of the dissolution of the USSR. America won the Cold War. It's uncontested, right? 800 military bases all around the world, constantly in a state of permanent warfare, imperialism, military occupations everywhere, or military bases everywhere that is masqueraded as a security contract that they have with all of these other countries. And therefore, it's virtually impossible for us here living in the heart of empire, living in the United States of America, to ever comprehend what that would look like unless it was like an infinitely more technologically superior force that could control us in this way. Americans are so powerful, I think, that we invent enemies to be afraid of, whether it be Russia or whether it be China. We invent people to be afraid of that could do to us what we've done to the rest of the world. But you're absolutely correct. If there was some kind of superior force that came in and displaced a lot of Americans in ironically, the same way that we did to the indigenous population on this land originally, and then partitioned off different segments of American soil and created a stateless system that had no contiguity for Palestinians or for the Americans in this equation, of course people would fight back. It's the perfectly understandable position, one that is actually reflected by even former Israeli heads of state and even current contemporary Israeli heads of state, whether it be like the heads of Shin Bet, and numerous other people that have openly recognized, if I was born on the other side of that boundary, I'd be fighting too. I'd be a terrorist. I'd be exactly the guy that they call it, that I call a terrorist right now. So I think our understanding of it here in America is very outdated, and that's, I think, partially because of the experience that you reflected on just now with like your schooling, and it's not just about the way American Jews are educated on Israel. It's just broadly the way that Americans are educated on it, especially like Christian Zionists, for example, in evangelical churches, get a very different theological justification for why Israel must belong to Jewish people and Jewish people only in an effort to trigger the rapture. So there's different facets of American society that have a lot of political power that have been taught that this is a moral battle, good versus evil, and you have to support the good guys in this process. And yet, I would say in the past 22 months, the societal attitudes, even in the Western world, has broadly shifted in the exact opposite direction. Do you feel like that will lead to a more meaningful conclusion? As someone who has been aware of this for 20 years plus now, especially, do you feel like societal attitudes have shifted?
Well, it seems like just in the last month, more and more people around the world and in the United States are understanding that what Israel is doing, aided and abetted by the United States, is mass murder. Call it slaughter, call it genocide. I don't think it matters much which term you use, but it's intentionally, massively slaughtering people. And no, it's the moral issue of our time.
Yeah.
And the people of the world say, this is horrible. This needs to stop. We will not allow this. And yet the leaders of our countries go against the population and continue to kill, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, sons and daughters, families just like ours in some other country in our name. That's what gets me about it, is that they're doing it with my money and in my name.
Yeah, absolutely. I do feel like the changing societal attitude, at least, is like going to cause a generational divide that hopefully will lead to better outcomes for the Palestinian population down the line. Of course, they are running out of time. They don't have time at this moment. One thing that I've noticed, and I'm wondering how you feel about this, is that this has become such a moral stain that is so undeniable, that's so undeniably wrong, that it's almost making people in the Western world question whether we have a real democratic process at all. Do you see that as a warning for American politicians in general? That, like, if they don't pack
absolutely.
this up?
Yeah. We do not have a democratic process. We do not have a democracy. We do not have government of the people, by the people, for the people. We have government of the money, by the money, for the money. So, I mean, a big part of it is we need to get big money out of politics. But, the most hopeful thing that I'm aware of is Mamdani, winning the primary in New York. And he ran on a platform that says, let's take care of the actual everyday needs of people. Let's make it so that they can afford to have a decent place to live, that they can afford to buy food, that they can have a decent livable wage. And these other guys, the Democrats and the Republicans, have said they don't give a shit. Have mouthed the words, oh yeah, we care, we love the children. But, you look at the federal discretionary budget, which I just happen to have with me here. Let me see.
You just walk around with that?
Yeah, I walk around with the federal discretionary budget. Somebody has to, somebody has to pay attention here. What? Wait a minute. Here. This is the 800 military bases.
Oh yeah, you got it right there.
Here, hold that. Put it up there. You know where to put it.
That's amazing.
And this is the discretionary budget. So all that big red stuff, that's what's going into the Pentagon. And then you got veterans, which is essentially retired soldiers and injured soldiers. Mm-hmm. And those little slivers, that's the stuff that we really want. That's the stuff that we really need. That's healthcare, childcare, housing,
education.
It's absurd.
So let's talk about Up in Arms. You got the hat on.
I got the hat. Yeah, I got the hat. And
you got some pamphlets with you?
I got this shirt because, I was just with those guys, but I was going to wear this shirt, but I'm giving it to you.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. They gave me a shirt. I give you a shirt. It's kind of like passing it along.
Hell yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what's Up in Arms' mission about?
So Up in Arms is a campaign to get the issue of federal budget priorities, of taking care of the American people, of reinvigorating the American dream, making it possible to achieve the American dream by shifting money out of the Pentagon into those things that we care about. So the idea is to get that to be an issue in the upcoming presidential elections in 28.
Yeah, that sounds like scary talk. Someone's got to keep funding Raytheon. Why don't you think about the what would you say to people who say, why don't you think about the poor shareholders that need a permanent state of warfare to ensure that their shareholder value keeps going up year over year?
I'm telling you, those stock prices are rising humongously as we conduct these wars and as we continue to give weapons to all these different countries. They just love war. The small war business is good business.
Yeah, small business of Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, and many others. Now also we have the tech bros that are moving in this direction as well, because they realize that's like the last part of the imperial coffers that they could raid with very limited repercussions, if any at all. And you can have these expansive budgets and constantly drive up costs. But of course,
so I think of it as these pigs feeding at the trough. So right now you've got the legacy defense or weapons manufacturers, Lockheed, Raytheon, the ones you talked about, and they're all taking up the whole length of the trough. And now you got Palantir and all these silicon,
Anduril,
right, trying to shove them out, trying to nuzzle their way in because they want to be sucking up all those bucks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So do you feel like the Democrats are actually going to push back against this? Or do you feel like where does the lack of interest from the Democratic Party overall come from in terms of saying the things that you're saying? Because I would say that you are by no means a radical. I would say that I definitely have a lot more radical, probably a lot more radical opinions that some Americans might not even initially get on board with. But this is not radical at all. This is very reasonable. Right? This is an incredibly reasonable proposition to do right by others. I believe I think it might have been Eisenhower who said, every dollar being spent on a bomb could be spent on books or could be spent on bricks to make houses here. And yet we spend it over there. We spend it on weapons of war instead. How do we get back to that mentality?
Every gun, every rocket launched, every missile fired signals in the final sense a theft from those who are hungry and not clothed, those who are something or other. That was Eisenhower's thing.
Yeah.
So how do we get back to that? I think we get back to it by electing politicians that are not mainstream Democrats or mainstream Republicans. I mean, everybody realizes that the Democratic Republican parties are broken, that they're corrupt, that they're about self-preservation, that they're not about what's good for the country. They're about what's good for the particular politician to get elected next year. Bernie was running and he, the DNC, kind of tilted the table against him. But if the DNC had not done that, he would have got the nomination, and I believe he would have got the presidency. Because Trump got it because what people wanted was none of the above. They wanted, no, I don't want a mainstream Democrat. I don't want a mainstream Republican. I don't want more of this shit, because year after year, they keep on saying, oh, yeah, we care about you. We care about you. We care about you. But year after year, things get harder and harder and harder in the richest country in the history of the world. Yeah. We have enough money. You can't believe, we can't conceive of the riches that this country has. We have $1 trillion a year that's now going into the Pentagon. That is a little under $3 billion a day. Just on nuclear weapons, we're spending over $100,000 a minute. What could you do with that money? For less than 5% of the Pentagon budget, you could eliminate homelessness. You could eliminate starvation and food insecurity, not only in our country, but around the world. There are 3 million kids a year that are literally dying of starvation.
Yeah.
For $50 billion, that's 5% of the Pentagon budget. we could provide food security for every one of them and provide food security for everybody in the United States who doesn't have enough to eat.
Yeah.
And we make the decision to instead, let's build more nuclear weapons. I mean, what would Jesus do? I mean, what does that do to the soul, the spirit of our country?
Supply side Jesus. Yeah, like Al Franken's joke. It's just Jesus would not cure the lepers unless they were in their network of coverage. That's how he operates. You don't understand. American Jesus is very different. I mean, it's a cliche at this point, but yeah, if Jesus came back to the United States of America, they'd probably kill him. They'd be like, "You're a Mexican communist. Get out of here! What are you talking about? That woke stuff." I think that's just like aesthetics anyway. I don't think any of these guys actually truly are believers, or at least they believe in a very distorted version of what they perceive Christianity to be, prosperity gospel in an evangelical format. It's a permanent state of war, not helping the poor at all.
It is a permanent state of war. I mean, how can you possibly say that we're at peace if we're spending $1 trillion a year on weapons, on the military? I mean, we're not at peace. We're preparing for the next war.
Yeah.
It's absurd. I mean, is this really the best our leaders can do? To solve problems by killing our brothers and sisters in other countries?
Yeah. But again, I think it goes back to the profit. It goes back to the profit incentive, which is that
it totally goes back to the
this is the one industry. I mean, there are other countries out there who spend far less in their military development that end up doing far more in terms of developing their countries. There's many reasons to criticize China, certainly, in their own internal affairs. They've done a litany of things that I personally find unfavorable. Having said that, they also engaged in tremendous development internally over the course of even the war on terror sliver of American history. They didn't do much of that, and instead they just kept building high-speed rail and rapid urbanization and tremendous infrastructure. And I always point to that to not say like, oh, we should be more like China, even though America does actually seemingly take on more of the social repressive aspects of Chinese governance in an exaggerated manner, as a matter of fact, and apply it here. But I wish we would also focus on internal development, rebuilding our infrastructure, and instead of relying on the initial gains made by the New Deal, like we've been eating off of that victory for a very long time, for far too long. That's why all of our infrastructure is crumbling.
I mean, China reduced poverty in their country by, I don't know,
800 million people.
Some huge percentage. I mean, while in our country, the spread between rich and poor gets wider and wider and wider.
Yeah. So that's what I always point to. That's always present. But then people hear that and they go, "Oh, you love China. Why don't you go live there?" It's like, okay, maybe. I mean, if the government keeps doing what it's doing, who knows?
I mean, there's problems in our country. There's a lot of screwed up things that our country does. I'm sure there's a lot of screwed up things that China does.
Yeah.
But the big thing that the U.S. does is it says that we must have full spectrum dominance militarily, that any country that starts to develop economically or starts to develop militarily is automatically considered to be an enemy. It's the official policy of the United States to not let any country become developed militarily or economically. And as soon as one does, like China, that for that reason only, China becomes an enemy.
Yeah, they produce 30% of everything that we consume. So it's additionally crazy. And you see that with what Donald Trump has been doing now with this like universal tariffs regime. I mean, you're a business guy. I was wondering what your take has been on the way this like almost Nixonian madman theory posturing that Donald Trump has implemented in terms of global trade, even though we designed it in a way that benefits us. benefits the American consumers, where we just basically hand off IOUs to the rest of the global south, and then we extract their natural resources and also their incredibly cheap, incredibly affordable labor that we've kept to a reduced level in perpetuity. Now Donald Trump is saying, for no real discernible reason, we need to restructure global trade, and we don't have the manufacturing base, I don't think, to protect some kind of domestic manufacturing. So I'm all out of ideas as far as like trying to figure out what Donald Trump is doing, but I wanted to hear your perspective on it. What's he doing with global trade?
You want me to try to figure out what Trump is doing?
Yeah, I'm not a business guy. I'm a Twitch streamer. So
the way I see it is that when Donald and I were growing up, we're kind of contemporaries. Manufacturing, having a job in a manufacturing business, in a manufacturing operation, was a secure job, was a good job. You had good pay, you had good benefits, you had a good pension. There were unions. And so people were making more money, they had a better quality of life. And he thinks that by bringing manufacturing back to the US, that'll come to be again. The problem is that manufacturing has now become so automated that you go to these manufacturing plants and there's hardly anybody in them.
Yeah.
It's all robotics.
Yeah.
So,
and not only that, but also my advocacy always been, I've been to Japan a bunch of times at this point, and when I go there, one of the things that strikes me is that there's a lot of the population is very old, and there are a lot of old people that still work in jobs that don't necessarily require a person to work at all. The example that always comes to mind is like the guy that sits right outside of like some kind of like utility truck that is working on the side of the road and just like waves people away with a wand. That job could be delegated to a cone with a light on it. But there's a reason why that person is doing that job. It's almost like the Walmart greeter job, right? Where they do that not because that's a redundancy that needs to be eliminated. They do that deliberately so that like that person has a job. And the example I always think of is automation is not necessarily a bad thing. It's not supposed to be a way to displace the existing labor force. It's supposed to eliminate the burdens of the labor force so that instead of working, 8-hour shifts, you work 4-hour shifts. But I think our mindset on this is, or has been, because we're constantly invested in improving profit margins, even though profit rates have a tendency to shrink, is to displace the most malleable aspect of commodity production, which happens to be labor, constantly depressing wages, looking for secondary markets where we can move manufacturing to. That's what global trade has created for the American labor force. And ultimately, my suggestion always is automation isn't necessarily bad. Domestic manufacturing isn't necessarily bad. It's just that we have to ensure that there are still people that are working, even if they're not really doing anything. There's just a person that's just sitting there just to collect a check for sanity, for social cohesion, so that the system doesn't collapse.
Well, there's definitely stuff that needs to be done. There's more than enough jobs that need to be done. You think about the infrastructure, there's a lot that needs to be done there. We need more teachers, we need more childcare workers. So, but I understand what you're saying, that automation is reducing the number of people that's required to make stuff. And what should be happening is that people should be working less hours and getting paid more money per hour. The problem is that the workforce is becoming way more productive.
Yeah.
Thanks to robotics and computers and whatever. But all that productivity, all the profits from all that productivity is going just to the 1%.
Yeah.
And no, that's what we need to change. I mean, why don't we how about having like a rational minimum wage in the country?
Yeah.
I mean,
or
the
a federal
minimum
jobs
wage
program.
The minimum wage is $7.50, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there are people that are working and getting $7.50 an hour, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. One thing I've always fantasized about is that we already have a massive government jobs program. It's called the military. And I wish that like the DOD would be in a future utopian society the DoD would be restructured into simply just like the Army Corps of Engineers. Instead of holding arms, they hold shovels and pickaxes, and they build roads and are constantly working not to kill children overseas, but instead constantly working to build bridges and homes. And
I think that makes a tremendous amount of sense.
yeah,
I think the people that end up going into the Army would appreciate that a lot better.
yeah,
I mean, they're going into the Army because they genuinely want to serve. They want to have meaning in their lives.
yeah, or because they're poor,
Right.
and they want to pay for college.
That's another big part of it. Both are true. So why not get that by actually serving the country and making the country better, as opposed to killing or threatening to kill people all over the world?
Yeah, after Walmart, the military is the largest employing body in this country, if not, well, not the planet. I think the Chinese military is larger, but that's it. And I don't know what it will take to have this kind of like dramatic restructuring, this redesign, because I feel like what I see from American politics has been this endless sea of cruelty and lack of interest in moving this country in a positive direction. And that, I think, is devastating for a lot of younger generations that still have that, I guess, naivete where they think they can just go out on the streets and protest and maybe even make change happen. And our system basically is designed in a way where we just stamp that naivete out. We stamp that hopefulness out. And then we make people feel like change is never going to happen in the positive direction. And it pushes people in the direction of nihilism.
Well, I think you're right. I think that, like I say, Bernie was a force against that nihilism. And I think that Mandami is. And then there's another guy in the Midwest.
Omar Fateh.
Right.
I'm going to be doing a collaboration with him as well, like I did with Zoran early on. I'm going to be flying out there.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So I think, what Up in Arms is about getting the issues that we're talking about into the presidential debate. And, and the big hope is that we're going to establish a constituency of voters that are going to say, hey, I'm going to vote for a candidate who's talking about making America a more compassionate place and meeting the actual everyday needs of our people instead of shoving it all into preparing to kill people all over the world. If we can get a constituency of people like that, someone's running for president, he wants votes, and he or she, and that's a way to shove them in the direction that we want them to go in. But I mean, when you talk about nihilism, I mean, what? You can either fight it or you give up.
Yeah.
Or you say, you either fight it or you say, okay, I'm in a country that's going to screw a whole bunch of people and I'm going to keep paying my taxes and there's nothing I can do about it. That's the case. Well, and I'll tell you, you mentioned young people. There's this group called Dissenters. The website is wearedissenters.com, and they are amazing. They're organizing on college campuses. They're multiracial. They're multigender. They're working on exactly this same issue, and that's what we need to do.
Yeah, we need to rise up and continue pushing back, no matter what the letter is next to the congressperson, because I feel like a lot of people find themselves falling into the team sports mentality, and they think like, oh, well, the Democrat is they're good by design. Definitionally, they're like morally better. And while there is truth to that, if you compare all of the policy outlines of the Republican Party versus the Democratic Party, certainly there are plenty of instances where the Democrats are not as bad as the Republicans, and yet they still actively, in my opinion, especially we saw this with the Kamala Harris campaign, they run in the direction of the Republicans, and then they end up reiterating Republican policy from 4 years prior that they had run against. Kamala Harris did this with immigration, for example, and so did Joe Biden. Joe Biden ran on a promise of, in the first 100 days, that he was going to push for amnesty for all of the non-citizens that have been living on U.S. soil. Conditional amnesty has always been more popular than mass deportation, and yet That never happened. They completely dropped that. And of course, the Republicans never stopped pushing lies that immigrants were not simply people trying to make an honest living in this country, that play an incredibly important role in the American economy and in the social fabric that binds us, that keeps us together, are active members of our communities and a part of American culture, but instead violent parasitic forces that must be removed using Nazi-style rhetoric. And then the Democrats looked at that. They looked at the polls and they saw that the societal attitudes were shifting in the direction of white nativist anti-immigrant sentiment. And they said, oh yeah, well, they're right. Immigrants do constitute a national security threat. We are going to be the adults that actually do the border wall. Trump is not serious about building the border wall, which I thought was such an ineffective way to advocate, to win an election by just conceding on a major issue to your opponent on their strongest issue.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And you know what strikes me about the immigrants coming to this country, if you look at the history, they're mostly coming from countries that the United States fucked over in one way or another.
Yeah.
I mean, either we overthrew militarily their governments. Reed Smedley Butler, who talks about how war is a racket and how he was overthrowing governments. And, this guy was the most decorated Marine back in his time. And he's talking about he was doing it all for the banks, for the big banks, and for the big corporations.
Yeah. That's the other thing, of course, is that like there's no problem with immigrants coming here, but like if you even wanted to, in a positive manner, make sure that the host nations were like, or the nations where people are coming from were livable and habitable, then you would stop interfering in their affairs and instead only positively intervening. And by that, I mean like actually help rebuild their infrastructure and allow these countries to thrive.
Exactly.
I mean, I came here. I'm very privileged. I am an American citizen. I was born on U.S. soil. I am what is known as a anchor baby, and something that Donald Trump is trying to take away from the next generation, even though it's unconstitutional. Anyway, and even with all of that fortune, even with all that privilege, I have family members that live in the United States of America beforehand as well. I had been to the United States of America. I learned English at an early age. I'm a native speaker, even though it's my second language, and I always thought like my own journey is to the United States of America. When I was at the age of 18, I came here for college. That journey was so easy in comparison to the treacherous trek that so many people have to engage in, where they leave their entire lives and their livelihood behind. They leave their culture behind. They leave their families behind in many instances just to make $1 in the United States of America. So in spite of that privilege, there were still hardships that I experienced, loneliness and changing everything about how I lived and what I knew about the world when I came here to a totally different environment. So I always think about like how people who are far, far less fortunate than myself came here. And that's what gears me to advocate for migrants in general and the humanity of migrants in general, and to advocate for amnesty in general. Because like, I just can't understand how people look at all that and think, no, these guys are actually here to, destroy the country or something.
Yeah. What I don't understand is what is the problem with immigrants? I mean, how are they making our lives any worse? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, my understanding is that unemployment is really low in the country. They're not stealing our jobs. It's jobs that Americans refuse to do.
Mm-hmm.
And they pay taxes. I just don't understand what's the issue?
It's just scapegoating because if you don't address no one wants to address the real problem, which is corporate consolidation and endless greed and endless war as a consequence of endless greed. And therefore they have to look for new villains. I mean, we already know historic examples, like in Nazi Germany, where they presented the villains of society rather than addressing the root causes. They turned around and scapegoated Jewish people and political dissidents like socialists, trade unionists, communists. Said it was Jewish Bolshevism that was the real threat to the superior German culture that was destroying it from within with degeneracy. A lot of these points of propaganda are damn near identical and have never really changed all that much for Republicans since the aftermath of World War II, I would say. We very quickly engaged in the Cold War, and in that process, I think we just never really gave up our fascist tendencies. And here we are. I think it's like unfolding. The logical conclusion of all of that enmity is the Trump administration.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And I think what's missing, and I think what is, I don't know, an intrinsic part of the American people is compassion and spirit and a soul of, and empathy. I mean, they're starting to say that, oh, empathy is a really bad thing. You shouldn't.
Yeah, I can't believe that. They're just being whole ass villains. That blows my mind. People,
because empathy gets in the way of,
yeah,
you know, give it all to me and fuck everybody else.
Yeah.
We don't care about those other people. Fuck them.
They say violent empathy or toxic empathy.
Right.
That's crazy. I call it vice signaling, because conservatives used to say like, oh, you're virtue signaling, which is, signaling that you're more virtuous than you actually are. The underlying premise is you must be faking it, right? But it's still basically is an admission that like the thing that you were advocating for is virtuous. Nowadays, I think conservatives are vice signaling, where they say things like suicidal empathy or toxic empathy, and actively push for toxicity, actively push for more violence and more harm to others. It turns into this incredibly immoral proposition that they're running off of, which is like being a bad person is actually a virtuous thing. It's a good thing.
Right.
And I don't understand how people don't see it.
That's the horrible part. I mean, I think that most people believe that there is some kind of spiritual aspect to our lives. As you give, you receive. As you help others, you're helped in return. And it's the same for countries. As you give, you receive. As you help others, you're helped in return. I mean, the major way that the U.S. interacts with the world, especially now that, Trump has cut off, the measly aid that we used to give out.
Yeah.
The major way we interact with the world is at the point of a gun.
Yeah.
800 military bases all over the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm gonna switch because you've been here for a while now. I want to take up more of your time, and thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure.
This has been a wonderful conversation. We got to switch gears and talk about ice cream.
Oh, all right. That sounds like...
I'm a major ice cream fan. I love ice cream sandwiches. What do you think about... Because I know Ben & Jerry's did like low-calorie ice cream for a little bit. I don't know if you guys still do it.
I think that was a passing fancy.
Yeah,
it was
so it's
forced on us by our corporate
parents. So you're not on board with that. What do you think about all of the protein infusion with like... there's this like new wave of all forms of treats having like a lot of protein. You don't believe it? Oh no!
I believe a treat should be a treat. I believe ice cream should be rich, creamy. I think it should be, that there should be calories to it. There should be butterfat in it. You're just not supposed to make it your meal for 3 meals a day. One meal a day is okay. I mean, I once worked on this caloric daily intake thing where, if you only substitute a pint of ice cream for 1 meal a day,
mm-hmm.
you could eat lettuce and rice the rest of the time and you'd be fine.
Damn it. This was all a trap. I brought you in here so I could convince you to not only
You brought me in here because you thought I'd bring you ice cream.
Yeah, well that, but then also I brought you in here because I thought I could convince you to not only do low calorie ice cream again, but also on top of that, do protein ice cream.
Oh God!
I need my protein.
But ice cream is supposed to be an indulgence.
I know.
It's supposed to be. It's like I was once at some restaurant in France, and some other American tourist is at another table, and he's giving his order, and he'd say, "Can you hold the butter?"
That's crazy.
And the chef comes out and he says, "What are you, crazy?" Right, just like you.
Okay, that's crazy. That's crazy. You're right about that. No, I get that. I like to put protein into every meal that I have because I need a lot of protein.
All right.
I'm a big boy.
Shake it on the top. Use protein sprinkles.
Okay. That's what I'm gonna do. where instead of convincing you, it seems you're an immovable object.
That's correct.
On this is
no, and I'm not into tuna fish ice cream. I'm not into chicken ice cream. I'm not into any of those savory ice cream things.
No, I would never. That's that's a bridge too far. That's a bridge too far for sure. But it's just.
I mean, protein. That's close to chicken.
You can make it. You can make sweet protein. A lot of the protein is sweet. You put a little bit of whey in there. Okay, ice cream sandwiches. Best version of consumption, I think. What do you think?
I'll tell you my secret pleasure at night.
Okay.
It's mostly good after, between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. Vanilla ice cream on wheat thins.
Oh, wow.
Open face. It is sweet, salty, crunchy, creamy.
Whoa.
It's everything you've ever wanted in an ice cream.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I never thought about that.
Thanks.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Really
That's
good.
A game changer. People are going to try that. People are going to try that after this and be like, damn.
And wheat thin sales are going to shoot through the roof.
They know.
You got a lot of listeners.
That's why you're OG. Okay. Is it, I don't know if this is like asking you to pick through who's your favorite children, but like, do you have a favorite flavor of Ben and Jerry's?
I move around, but I stay with Chubby Hubby, New York Super Fudge.
Let me look this up.
Cherry Garcia.
Yeah, people were saying Cherry Garcia. They like that.
There's also this thick mint that has this really large, thick chocolate disc on the top of what they call chocolate ganache, I believe. I think that's really good.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they're saying fish food.
Fish food is the last flavor that I was personally involved in.
Okay. I will say, I think chocolate chip cookie dough on top forever.
Yeah.
I'm a huge, I am a loyalist of chocolate chip cookie dough. It's because when I was younger, I think my parent, I loved eating chocolate chip cookie dough, and my parents told me, I don't know if it was a lie or not, but they were like, oh, you'll get worms or something if you eat the cookie dough. And I still ate it.
Good work.
I would still go in the fridge and I just eat the chocolate chip cookie dough. I even prefer it almost to like a cookie. I love a chewy cookie, but a chewy chocolate chip cookie, but cookie dough is my thing. And you guys even have I think a cookie dough that you would just sell.
Yeah, you could just get a bag of chocolate chip cookie dough.
Oh, so good.
Ben and Jerry's invented chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream.
No.
Yep.
What?
Yeah, amazing. I mean,
no.
It's amazing. I mean, there was somebody who invented vanilla ice cream, somebody who invented chocolate ice cream. Ben and Jerry's invented chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream, and now it's become like a standard for every brand.
That's amazing. I'm sitting across from the inventor of the greatest ice cream flavor of all time.
Well, I have to say, it wasn't me personally.
Well, you played a role in
it. I mean, there was a guy who was there in the shop making ice cream in a 5-gallon rock salt and ice freezer. That's how we were making ice cream back in those days. And there was another person who was baking chocolate chip cookies. And
you just fall, tripped and fell.
Said, hey, throw some of that stuff in.
No.
Right. And it really took off. And then, that was making it in bulk in 2.5-gallon containers. And it became so popular that we wanted to start making it in pints. And the problem was that the little chocolate chip cookie dough balls, people were rolling them by hand.
Yeah.
That's a lot of balls to roll.
Yeah.
And they're really sticky, and they would get stuck to all the machinery and crap. And then we started coating them in cornstarch, I think. And now they're made by this great company in Vermont that employs people who speak 5 or 10 different languages. They're all immigrants. And what they do is that they freeze them as soon as they're extruded into these little pellets. And
I'm blown. I can't get over this. It says that it was in 1991, Ben & Jerry's began selling pints with the flavor, which quickly became popular with consumers. 1992, chocolate chip cookie dough accounted for 20% of the company's total ice cream sales.
Wow.
20%.
Well, today, the biggest selling flavor is half-baked, which is half chocolate chip cookie dough and half chocolate fudge brownie.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's my Ben & Jerry's flavor. That's my top flavor. I love it. Wait, someone said ask him about grape flavor. You guys have no.
We don't do grape.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We had grape nut ice cream for a while. Grape nut cereals.
Have you ever had Turkish ice cream?
Who's?
Turkish.
Oh, is that stuff that's like really stretchy?
Yeah.
I think
It's got because I asked my cousin how it's made because it's like what makes it so chewy because it's like kind of chewy. Maraş dondurması. It's from the area called Maraş in Turkey, and he said that they use where is it? They use sahlep, which I don't know what it is. I don't know what sahlep is in English. Let me just see. Sahlep powder. I guess maybe it's the same thing. Yeah, is a warm milky drink popular in the Middle East and Turkey. Flour made from the tubers of the orchid genus Orchis.
Huh.
That's what makes it like. Because I initially thought it was like mastic. Like I thought it was like mastic gum that they put in it, but it turns out it's not. That's what makes it chewy. Anyway, if you guys want to broach into the Turkish ice cream territory, what is this? Show Ben your favorite Ben & Jerry's flavor. Oh, the Americone Dream.
Yeah, American Dream. There was some concern that
wait, really?
Because they're firing the guy, is it still going to survive? And I believe it will.
Oh, okay. So how does that work? How does the process of like getting a Ben & Jerry's ice cream flavor work? Are you still hands on in that? Are you like?
I'm not personally hands on in it. The first ever. Let's
say you make a call. You're like, there's a political commentator who isn't fired, who still has. Just saying, like a young guy, new vision. No, I'm kidding. I'm sure. Do people ask you that all the time where they're like,
everybody wants
ice cream flavor?
I mean, we came out with Cherry Garcia and then every band got in touch with us. We want our ice cream flavor.
Yeah. What's the craziest flavor that someone has suggested, if you don't mind me asking?
Crazy flavor. Nothing. Well, they keep on suggesting these savory flavors.
Oh, that's the new thing that they want? Why would anybody want savory?
I don't get it. I just don't.
If you want savory, use wheat thins. Put a wheat thin underneath the ice cream.
Exactly.
Yeah. What about pistachio? Do you guys have a pistachio flavor?
We do have a pistachio flavor, and there aren't that many ice creams that have a pistachio flavor anymore. And
yeah, which is interesting because like that's huge in Turkey, but then again, there's a lot of pistachio in Turkey.
Right. We have a pistachio flavor, and what is some other flavor that? Oh, we have Chunky Monkey. Banana flavored.
Yeah.
And you can't find another banana ice cream. I mean, banana ice creams, they used to be yellow.
Yeah.
But
or this is really OG. I feel like they don't do that anymore. Tutti Frutti.
Yeah, that is very OG. No,
I was not like a big fan of it.
I was not either.
I don't know why. I've always felt like fruit flavored ice cream is a bad take, I know, but it's just not for me.
Well, I mean, during my day at Ben & Jerry's, we found that we were not able to sell any fruit flavored ice cream unless we added chocolate to it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I mean, I guess like strawberry cheesecake is the only one that I make an exception for because it's a cheesecake.
Right. Right.
Well, someone said rum and raisin. I don't like rum and raisin. But again, that's just me as my own personal preference.
It's an old time flavor.
Yeah.
We had rum raisin for a while.
Yeah. It's interesting though. Like, I guess the palates change over time.
Yeah. Chubby Hubby was kind of one of the first sweet and salty things. And then there's been there was a real sweet and salty craze.
Yeah. I mean, there's a company called Salt and Straw.
Yeah, I know
that does specifically that, where it's like everything that they do is like very salty, very rich.
Huh.
That's probably why a lot of people are asking you to do more savory stuff. Honestly, yeah, they got like some of them are just straight up salty. Like they have like a goat cheese one where it's like just salty. It's not for everybody. Okay, out there idea. I'm gonna throw some ice cream flavor ideas at you.
Yeah.
And see if you already have it, because Ben & Jerry's has a lot of flavors. I don't know all the flavors. Okay, cinnamon toast crunch.
Cinnamon toast crunch.
It's almost like a cookies and cream, but instead of the instead of the Oreo cookie base, the base is cinnamon toast crunch cereal bits.
I think it could work.
That's free ball for you. I'm giving that to you for free. It's all good. You can take that home with you. It's fine. Okay. Baklava.
Baklava, the company has tried. And there were two flavors that we came out with at the same time. It was baklava and cannoli. And I was saying that baklava was going to sell better than cannoli, but I was wrong.
Yeah. Well, baklava seems too oriental for Americans, I think. Still, it might have a resurgence now that like Dubai chocolate. I don't know if you know what that is, but
Heard of it.
Dubai chocolate is like popping off right now. It's a TikTok trend, but it's basically, do you know what kunefe is? It's a Turkish, it's like a Middle Eastern dessert. It's like phyllo dough pieces, I think.
Yeah,
It's almost like, it looks like thick pieces of hair, strands of hair.
Kinda hairy. Yeah.
And they douse that with like some kind of pistachio chocolate. And then they put that inside of, a chocolate. And that's how they make Dubai chocolate.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it's not like coconut, chat. It doesn't have the same mouthfeel as like coconut at all. It feels like it's closer to like a noodle, like a crispy pastry than coconut. I don't like this personally, but have you guys ever tried a rose flavoring?
Yes, we have tried rose.
I don't really like it, but
I kind of liked it. It was kind of subtle, and I think we added some pistachios to it. I'm usually not kind of a subtle guy, but
yeah,
worked for me.
Okay. What is your favorite flavor that went away? You have one where you're like, I really like this. I banged for this, and people just didn't get the vision at the time.
Well, the original one was mocha walnut. I used to be the delivery guy. I would be delivering it.
You just be eating while you're delivering?
Yeah. And, we got complaint letters. Half of them said there's too much coffee in the mocha. Half of them said there's too much chocolate in the mocha. So, it was kind of a subtle, there's nothing, the walnuts and the mocha, it's kind of a subtle thing. And you had to have a hankering for that kind of thing.
Okay.
And then there was coffee almond fudge, which I thought was a great flavor, no longer around, and coconut almond.
So you're a fan of the nuts in the ice cream?
Yeah. Well, you might have heard that I don't have that much of a sense of taste.
Oh, I have not heard that.
It might have been considered, a problem for an ice cream man, but we turned it into an advantage. So, when you don't have much of a sense of taste,
you go for texture.
Correct. That's exactly it.
No, texture is very important.
Right.
I agree. I think mouthfeel is a very,
I love it.
Very important aspect of it.
Not that many people, use that word aside from myself.
Yeah. No, I love using that word.
Yeah. Mouthfeel. It's a subcategory of the sense of touch.
My chatter's made churn out the vote. Socialist woke bet.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just, no pressure. I'm just. Oh yeah. As far as like a chicken as dessert, tavuk göğsü, which means chicken breast, is a Turkish chicken dessert. It's made with literally chicken breast.
Really?
It's got a crazy mouthfeel, and it's not even remotely savory at all. It's really interesting.
Huh.
But yeah, that's another one. There was one more thing I wanted to ask you as far as flavors goes. So I gave you cinnamon toast crunch ice cream. What else? What else could there be? Chat, do you have any that I haven't thought about? Oh, bacon and maple.
That could work. I could definitely understand that.
Yeah, that was another one. Oh, people are saying Vegemite. Oh no.
Ugh.
Yeah. No. Okay. So you don't like the protein ice cream?
No.
You're not in favor of it?
No. Ice cream should be ice cream.
Okay. What do you think about like the Greek yogurt shops that they have now, where it's like you can just like put a bunch of stuff on it? What's your you've been to one of these places, I assume, where you go to like a frozen yogurt shop?
Yeah.
And they have all these toppings that you put, and then they weigh it.
Yeah, I like it.
The
problem is that the cups are too damn big, and when you go to check out, it's like $20.
Yeah. No, that's how they get you.
Yeah.
So what's a no-no for you in terms of toppings? Let's say you're
gummy bears. I think this gummy shit is really ridiculous.
Yes. That's why I asked you, because someone was suggesting gummy bears.
No.
Gummy bears, I love gummy bears. Not on ice cream. they get cold and
hard.
they get hard.
Yeah.
And it changes like the mouthfeel of it all.
Right. It's not gummy anymore.
Yeah. It's not good
like
on ice cream.
A jujube.
Yeah.
Do you remember jujubes? No. These were like super hard gummy things. They were like stale gummy things.
Yeah, no, I don't like that. But I do like, as I've said before, the crumbled cookie toppings. I love. Yeah. Which another good ice cream flavor could be cookie butter.
Cookie.
Which I don't even know if you guys have her already.
Butter.
You've never had cookie butter?
No.
Oh, it's like Lotus Biscoffs. Like it's like little biscuits. They have a specific taste.
Yeah. So you take
and they turn that into like
and you make it into that taste.
They basically turn that into like they take that cookie and they turn it into like spreadable like a spreadable thing basically. And it's incredible.
What, and you like spread it on bread?
Yeah, you can spread it on bread
or crackers.
I just eat it straight off the
straight.
Yeah.
Good.
Ask me about red velvet.
You know, I don't believe in red velvet.
Well, I mean, it's nothing. It's just food coloring.
It's just red, right?
Yeah. I agree. Okay, we're locked in on this. So yeah, red velvet believers, you're wrong. It's true. I don't know what it is. I still think it's different. In my mind, it tastes different, but I know it's not different. If that makes sense.
Well, you know, especially for a guy who doesn't have a sense of taste, it's really not.
Okay, someone's asking Earl Grey tea flavored ice cream.
Too subtle. I mean, well, you know, again, a guy who doesn't have a sense of taste, I can't tell the difference between all these different teas.
Yeah, you just got to sprinkle some nuts in there.
Yeah.
Tea and nuts. Okay. Well, Ben, thank you so much for coming on.
It has been a pleasure,
amazing.
dude.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
You're awesome.